CCIFSA, the Cultural and Creative Industry Federation of South Africa, is on the spotlight. As you know, there's a big fight from Minister Gayton McKenzie, and CCIFSA is responding. Let's take it back from all of this. Unlike former Minister Paul Mashatile, Nathi Mthethwa, Zizi Kodwa, Minister Gayton McKenzie does not recognize CCIFSA and went to an extent of calling it a criminal organization that steals artist money. CCIFSA was called by Parliament to account on the millions given to them. CCIFSA President Joy Mbewana speaks her mind on the minister's approach and why CCIFSA is important. And CCIFSA Treasury-General gives a financial report on CCIFSA's millions in Parliament. Zizi Kodwa, now the member of Parliament Portfolio Committee, who was eyeing presidents of CCIFSA in 2015 in CCIFSA Bloemfontein Conference, tells all he knows about CCIFSA and what transpired. We revisit the interview given by Tony Goroge and former Minister Nathi Mthethwa about CCIFSA. Tony Goroge, CCIFSA leadership, was forcefully moved out of the office in 2019. DSEC intervened in organizing district consultation in a build-up to second CCIFSA National Conference in Mpumalanga. New CCIFSA leadership continued on the wrong legacy of Tony Goroge leadership of focusing on provinces rather than sector councils. The government of national unity brings changes from the ANC-led department through Gayton McKenzie as a minister and a new Parliament Portfolio Committee chairperson from a Democratic Alliance. CCIFSA respond to ministers' allegations of millions. Is this the end of CCIFSA? If not, what's next?
Chairperson, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee and officials from DSEC and leaders of CCIFSA. Chairperson, I think before I respond or get into the presentation and respond, I'm tempted to even respond to the presentation from DSEC, but I would request the indulgence of the committee through you, Chair, to talk to a few issues that I think, as a president of CCIFSA, feel they need to be put on record. One, it starts with the, I think we must also remind ourselves why this organization was formed and why so much investment of public resources were invested in it. But I don't want to bore you with the details because I assume they are part of the historical account of this committee. But it was consciously formed to be a sole voice, the uniting front of the cultural and the creative industry. The then minister, Mr. Paul Mashatile, was behind the formation of the organization at more or less the same time when he was driving the Mzansi Golden Economy Policy Initiative. So the big question here, Honorable Chair, is to ask Uguti, did CCIFSA fail in its mandate? And what was CCIFSA's mandate? And what was it funded to do in the past 5 years? At least during my term as a president. Maybe the question should be asked backwards or in the other way around. What was it not funded to do? CCIFSA was not funded to do programs within the industry. It was not funded to host workshops in all the sectors, train and develop artists. You cannot train and develop artists randomly. There has to be an organization that functions first at all levels of governance in the country, from at what level, district level, and the provincial level. There lies the mandate of CCIFSA. CCIFSA, during my term, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, was funded to develop the organization. CCIFSA, under my leadership, has successfully achieved 80% of its mandate of developing the organization. CCIFSA is the only organization that is present in every district and every municipality of this country in the same instant in the municipality level. 6 provinces have gone to provincial conferences and has credible elected leaders, including sector leaders. And CCIFSA is only left with 3 to organize 3 provinces, which is Limpopo, Western Cape, and Free State. And we have already started processes, local as well as of our district. So the second phase in this process for our plan was to develop AMA sector councils. But before we couldn't even go there, Mr. Gayton McKenzie came in and started everything from start. He literally took us back to Umangawunga. All umsebenzi wethu that we have done for 10 years of work has been started all over again. The same public is being dedicated to the same process. Asazi-ke why. And master plan, the cultural and the creative industry master plan was adopted by the cabinet in 2022. Sector categorization was made very clear both in the revised white paper and the cultural and the creative master plan. So why does this department and its minister define the resolution and the decision of parliament and go and rearrange our sectors adopted by cabinet? So our minister can define the decision adopted by cabinet. As CIFSA, we stand resolute that the mandate of CIFSA has not changed. We delivered on our mandate. We will not be able to complete it because the new minister, who will be here for 5 years, has his own vision of how the cabinet decision should be defined. In the 5 years, colleagues, we will have another minister with a new idea of how this industry is supposed to function. The minister says, no one organization can represent all sectors, but on the other side of his mouth, he's perishing ISASCOC. But he's ought to kill and CIFSA, as the department has presented, they are starting something new that prosperity of 52 people, where they came back with 74 sectors. And then when the minister called a meeting again, he came back with 16 sectors. So money that should be finishing Project CIFSA is now being dangled in front of the industry instead of helping the sector to move forward. So you don't destroy an organization you have built, that you have created as a department, just because maybe you don't like the leaders. But what you need to do is to change the leadership through properly constituted conferences and elect the new leadership. My leadership has submitted the report to the department of all the money that was funded for. No one will not accuse CIFSA under my leadership of not accounting. So what is the problem? Why not finish the work that we have started? Why are they using the same public purse to do what has been done by the leaders? And some of the leaders are now the members of the portfolio committee, the activists that have worked for us to be here. So Chairperson, CIFSA is not going anywhere. We will come to this committee and report if the department and its minister is blocking funding from this organization. The department has reason to support the industry, has a responsibility to support the industry organization, and CIFSA is an industry organization and it will remain an industry organization. When they talk about gossip that they are getting from the streets, we cannot be leaded by the gossip and the feelings. And we have the minister now come and tell the industry, Guti, you will do as I say. He's running the industry like a prison cell and do mountain. He's telling us, if you don't want to listen to what I am telling you, I don't know whether the department misrepresented the sector or the minister doesn't listen to anyone. Because the minister, if you don't want to listen to what I'm saying or to do as I say, go and start your own political organization, campaign, and then become a minister. I am the minister. The unfortunate part is that we are creatives and we find ourselves as workers being organized by the employer. Maya's about Eugene, they've been a unionist. It has never happened. So because he's got, all of a sudden, I wish the department can also respond with, where did they get all these national organizations, the 52 national organizations, because there are no 52 national organizations in the creative industry. The organizations that we have, national organizations, are less than 5 in the creative industry. Are the people that are elected to lead the sectors, are they coming from the sector? And see, happy. You know, that's just my input. There's a lot that is happening. The industry has become a mess. People are running around forming organizations, forming structures, because now there's a new minister who promised the industry 300 million. But in October, they must come back with an account. He's going to give them 300 million. He has lied to us. He has not given that money. And then now he come back with new sectors, 16 of them. And each sector is funded with 2 million and 1.5. 2 million is not even enough for a one-day event. The department uses millions, and we are supposed to, we only received 12.5 million for 5 years, and we've done work. I will allow my Treasury-General to maybe to go to details with our financial records, because we are told that the portfolio committee is interested in that. So for now, thank you so much, Chair, honorable members, department, and my colleagues. I've got Umangaliso Mchula through you, Chair, or the ADG, who will do a financial statement, report here too from 2016 and 2024. We were hoping that the previous leadership of CCIFSA were going to be here to account, because the reason why the CCIFSA has a bad name is the maladministration that did not happen in my time, in our time. But the leaders are still alive. Should the portfolio committee, they can invite them. They were invited. I'm not sure what happened, but the department will have answers on that. But we'll present from 2016 to 2024. Thank you.
The second thing I want to say, which people don't want to talk about them, is this thing of artists exploiting artists. They form associations and unions. Those unions, it's crime dens, let me tell you. They get money. They get money. CCIFSA is #1 crime organization. They've been paid millions from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture. But there's no money when artists die. They can't even contribute towards the millions we are giving them to even bring 20 rands when an artist has died. But they are representing artists.
Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, kaifak, alhamdulillah, kairakabik, alhamdulillah. My name is Tami Akambongo Manzana, umbongo umbuyiso ungaleza undima usondisa umvemnyama, ngalo mazwi ozalwa ngomanzana ukhumalo umntungwa omdletshe. Ndithi ngalo mazwi ndithi welcome to this special edition. It's going to be a long episode, but it's worthwhile, because I believe a lot of people just know the name CCIFSA. They don't truly understand what is the background, what was meant for CCIFSA to do. So in this episode, including the people that are involved in CCIFSA, most of them might not even know what CCIFSA was about. You understand? I always say in this industry we've got a lot of followers than leaders. You understand? So allow this episode to guide you, to give you a background. When we started the show, we played a voiceover, a video of Joy Mbewana, who is the second CCIFSA president, when she was presenting at Parliament in front of the portfolio committee. And then we play you a snippet of the recent comment that was done by Minister Gayton McKenzie. You understand? For all those that who don't know, in former President Jacob Zuma, we understand, decided to bring all artists across the country to speak about the status of the arts and culture in South Africa. A lot of artists attended, and the president, by the time, former President Jacob Zuma said, I want artists to speak in one voice. And then it gave the birth of CCIFSA. When the current deputy president was the Minister of Arts and Culture, Paul Mashatile, and then he decided to appoint an interim committee in 2014. That interim committee was tasked to make sure that they organize a conference in Bloemfontein. Bloemfontein bezibuya. there were two bulls ngaphakathi ebuhlanti. It was Tony Goroge this side, it was Eugene Mthethwa. Both wanted to be the president of CCIFSA. You understand? And and then at the end of the conference, Tony Goroge became the president of CCIFSA. So, as I said, Minister Gayton McKenzie was speaking about these millions that are given to CCIFSA. You understand? There's a clip of CCIFSA Treasury-General when they were presenting in Parliament, Uguti, how did they spend these millions? So we will play you that video. And then on that same sitting, Eugene Mthethwa, who was part of the CCIFSA process, but now is currently a member of Parliament Portfolio Committee, also responded. And what is nice about his response, because he was part of the process, so he speaks about all the things that were happening. We're going to watch that video. And then straight after that video, we are going to revisit one of the videos that Tony Goroge and the former Minister Nathi Mthethwa were talking about this CCIFSA, Uguti. What is CCIFSA meant for and what are they going to do? So let's play that video.
Through you, Chair. Chair, do I have the platform? Mangoli Samchula here.
Yes, I'm actually eager to listen to the presentation of the financial report, and I think that is what we have asked. Proceed.
Report, the independent auditor has audited the financial statements and provided an unqualified opinion that the financial statements presented fairly in all material respect the financial position of CCIFSA, signed by RM Banjo, Chartered Accountant. Next. All right. Now we are on the state of financial positions as of end of February. Just to indicate, let's summarize the company's asset, what it owns, the liability, what it owns, and the equity assets, loss, liability on that specific period. Now, looking from 2015 to 2024, at the end of that period, that would be our financial year. You would look at 2015, it's 132,647 rand. That was the total assets. You would go to the equity, it would be the same amount. You go to the total equity and liabilities. The same with 2016, it's 219,072. It's the equities, the same as the total equities and liabilities, 2017. And then 2018, 2019, as I've indicated, 2020, during the period of COVID, there was no funding. And then 2021, 2022, 2023, you look at the assets, 629,179. It's the same as the equity, total equity and liabilities. 2024, 472,547. The same with the equity, the same with the total. All of this will be projected into detail in the other presentation. Now we go to the statement of comprehensive income. This is the statement that indicates the total summary and total income since the inception of CCIFSA, to indicate how much was allocated for that period of time, as it was also indicated by Mr. Lutuli that there would be discrepancies with their archive and our financial statements as per the auditor's report. According to our auditor's report for 2015, the allocated funds that we had in our possessions was 5,019,153 rand. Our operating expenses were 5,560,394. Then the net or the loss would be 541,241. 2016, you would see that it comes to 4,549,952. And then our operating expenses would be 4,092,648. Net or slash loss would be 457,304. 2017, you will see again, it's not the same as the 5 million that it was reported due to the accounting processes. It is 4,147,052 rand. Operating cost at that time would be 2,749,551 rand. The net would be then, or the loss, 1,397,501. 2018, it was 3,026,298. Then our operating would be 3,936,268. Our net or loss would be 909,970 rand. 2019, in our accounts, there were 15,977,437 rand. Our operating cost for the 2019 financial year was 15,519,094 rand. Our net or loss was 458,343 rand. For 2020, there was no funds. 2021, an allocation of 1,660,000. Our operating cost was 1,660,244 rand. Our net or loss was 244. 2022, no funds. 2023 financial year allocation was 4,520,200. Operating cost 3,891,370. Net/loss 628,830. And then 2024, 5,014,417. Our operating cost was 5,171,639. The net or/loss was 157,222 rand. Next slide. Now the statement of changes in the reserve, just to indicate what obligations do we still have at the end of that financial year period. It moves over from the close of financial year or our auditing period. You will look at 2015, there was none. 2016, you would see a minus 541,241. Ordinary share capital would be 457,304, and total equity would also be 83,937. 2017, none. 2018, number of shares would come to 1,313,564. Ordinary share capital would also then be 909,970, and total equity would be 403,594 rand. 2019, it opens with 403,594. Ordinary share capital 458,343, and then total equity would be 861,937. 2020, not applicable. 2021, you'd see that we are opening with none. Ordinary share is minus 244 rand. Total equity minus 244. 2022, also then none. Then 2023, we are opening with 129. Ordinary share capital, it would be 629,050 rand. Total equity, 629,179 rand. And then 2024, we're opening with 129. Our number of shares, ordinary share capital would be 472,418. Total equity would be 472,547. Next slide. The statement of cash flow, it indicates and tracks the movement of the business, the money coming in, the money coming out for that period of the business, how much it will spend and how much it will accumulate. It always also identifies what part of the business makes a profit. In that sense, we are a non-profit company, registered as a non-profit company. Now, in 2015, when you look at the net generated from utilized by operating activities, it goes to 131,647. When you look at the net generated from financing activities, there are none. Cash at the beginning of the year, there are none, and then cash and cash equivalents at end of the year, it is the same as 131,647. When you look at 2016, we are on 94,427. When you look at the net generated through financial activities, it's 78,940. Cash at the beginning of the year, it goes to 131,647. Cash at equivalent at the end, it would say 147,134. In 2017, we opened up with 946,162 rand. And then we are going to the financing activities, 660, 51 rand. And the cash at the beginning would say 147,134 rand. At the end, it would go to 1,753,347. 2018, we opened up with a minus 611,119 rand. We go to 1,398,002 rand. At cash at the beginning of the year, it goes to 1,753,346 rand, and then at the end it accumulated to 2,540,229 rand. 2019 open up with 475,761. We then had a minus of 2,058,054 rand. Cash at the beginning is 2,540,229 rand. At the end, we were left with 957,936 rand. 2020 not applicable. 2021 it's minus 244 at the beginning, and then at the end is 244. 2022 not applicable. 2023 we open up with 643,624 rand, and then minus 213,033 rand. Cash at the end of equivalent of the year, it was 430,591. 2024, we open up with minus 104,233. Cash net 314,711. Cash at the beginning of the year, there were none in both financial years. Cash at the end, equivalent of the end, 11,647 rand. Next slide. The notes is attached by the financial statements, the International Financial Reporting Standards for SME compliance, depreciation of property / plant and equipment, revenue recognition and cash equivalent policies. Next slide. Conclusion and outlook as to the honorable members. The financial statement reflects the organization that remains a going concern. No significant event occurred after the reporting period that would affect the financials. For further inquiries, contact CCIFSA. Thank you very much. I hope I was in time, Chair.
Finally, we have CCIFSA here to report. But the current CCIFSA that is here to report, the new director or chief director or director who is responsible for this particular project has no facts at all. He has presented a very, very shady and shabby report. I'll tell you, if I were to post now the financials that both presentations presented to us of the department is 5 million, even in the years that he personally says CCIFSA was not funded. 2 years. But when you look at what he has presented in terms of the presentation, it shows 5 million, except during the time of COVID. So, and between the financials, between the two presentations, you see 5 million this side you see the 1-point-something million, you see what. So let them decide which one we must consider as true reflection of what transpired in CCIFSA. I was unfortunately part of this journey. This journey was started by Creative Workers Union of South Africa. And I was presenting on this particular idea, which was modeled around SASCOC. So even the mandate has been distorted. So the MOUs that were signed contrary to the mandate, to the initial mandate that we had agreed upon with the now Deputy President of this country and who was the then Minister of Arts and Culture. Let's start by first, the presentations, they say national body, but there's a disclaimer that this particular institution doesn't belong to government. It's a private company, but it's a national body. How can a private company be a national body? What is the meaning of national body? When it was established, it was presented to the parliament for adoption. Adoption of what? Private sector, private company. The interim committee, which I was part of, there's so much distorted information by the department. It was an interim committee with no positions. But the chair, and in collaboration with Mr. Sibis, who was the SG, who elevated himself to SG, and suddenly everybody had position. To that effect, Honorable Member Penny would remember that those positions were even rejected at the founding conference because they said those are positions that you acquire by election, not by self-appointment. So for him to say there was SG, TG is endorsing nonsense. Sorry to say, because those even in the presence of the minister, they were even removed from the front to come and sit with the people because they were not SG's chairperson. There was only chairperson and deputy chairperson, but not the SG and TG, because those are positions that you get when you are elected at a conference. He further goes into saying 12 million was 12 million was also added to CCIFSA. He doesn't tell us the truth that 12 million was a budget for Usiba Awards, which was not programmed, that was allocated to CCIFSA initially. It was just a project out of nowhere. Even Honorable Penny called me and said, I, as the deputy president of CCIFSA, I don't know anything about this Luciba Awards. So he doesn't speak to that. He speaks to 12 million as if it was given to CCIFSA for programs. Correct. The current president, whose their term has actually lapsed, he's correct that the department is just lying. As usual, it's always lying to us because it doesn't take us serious. CCIFSA was not funded to do projects. As I say, that the model that we proposed as Creative Workers Union of South Africa, we proposed a SASCOC model because we were saying the sport is well organized because it is organized around sporting codes. Therefore, the creative and cultural sector, we are unable to organize it. As the former President Jacob Zuma said in his 2009 meeting in Sentin, he said, government must assist the sector to create an enabling environment for it to organize itself. And the organization of the sector was supposed to be according to the sectors and the subsectors in view of the UNESCO Declaration on Sectors. Not all these things that are happening. She's right to say, now the current process, which I've asked the minister and he responded. I asked if he is dealing away with CCIFSA. And he said, no, we are not dealing away with CCIFSA. That's confusion. Because the same situation, the same process is following with this Bosperat team that has the same members, dominated by the same members who messed up many things in the sector. Without screening them, he has actually recycled the very corrupt individuals into his current team, which he denounced to say, no, these were elected by organizations from the sectors. And I said, that's not true. We know the problem of this industry, of this sector. It doesn't have organizations that have national footprint, as the president has alluded to that point. So it is friends of friends who invite each other constantly with the department that knows that has been there for over 30 years. There for over 30 years. They know everybody in the industry, but they keep on inviting selective ones and reject people like Ada was rejected to attend it. Yet he's got an organization. So it is true that it is politics within the politics and lies within the lies. Now, the initially approved budget was 15 million. Now, when you are reporting about 30-something million. What created that? Because each and every year for the first 3 years, 3 terms, it was 5 million per term. That was actually declared by the then Minister Paul Mashatile, who's now the Deputy President. And I want him to account and tell us if he's quite okay with this situation where his own process, exactly as it was, it is now duplicated and repeated with cost, obviously. After losing over 38 million or 32 million, you are now repeating the same process that was followed by the then Minister Paul Mashatile of looking for people from different sectors to come and form interim committee instead in view of establishing the CCIFSA. You are doing the same thing, and now you have a duplication of two forums. I will call them forums. You have CCIFSA, you have now the Bosperite. CCIFSA that had been run down, and corruption. I've got the public protector's report, which I will forward to you. That confirms that there were maladministration. There were mismanagement of funds. There were people who were bought suit out of nowhere, T-shirts, when it was not meant for that. But the department did not take action. And the reason that was given to us when we asked why has the department not taken this action through the public protector, they said, no, CCIFSA is not part of government. But we are putting money, so it doesn't matter how CCIFSA uses the money because it is not part of us. So they are not interested in really changing the people's lives, as we say. Now, when we're listening to both presentations, these reports, they don't talk about the work that has been done on the ground. They talk about the money, how much we're given. This is how much we have gotten. The other report talks about structures in the regions, structures in the provinces. CCIFSA was not meant to be an organization for structures in provinces. It's supposed to be sector structures and subsector structures. Challenges that you have mentioned, challenges were internally and externally reported to the minister. I wrote an email to say there's a lack of corporate governance to the so-called self-elevated Secretary-General, SBIS. And I said, there is a problem with corporate governance in this organization. I was sitting in the finance committee, so you can't tell me anything about how was the money used in that first. There was corruption. Members of it was called the task team. Members of the task team sitting around the table would be given projects to manage, projects that they would be paid for when they're actually earning a stipend or rather a compensation for their sitting in the boards, in the meetings, which is against corporate governance, where somebody has comparative advantage over others. There were no projects that were advertised or services that were advertised. They became service providers, paid up service providers on their own. For instance, the MOU that we could have drafted as a constitution against my advice, saying we require a constitution to go and establish in the inaugural conference. We require a constitution that we can draft for free. It was given to a friend who is sitting in the task team at 300,000 rands, an MOU, an MOA or MOI at 300,000 rands. And I reported this to the minister. I alerted the minister. I rejected that proposal because we didn't even process it through the finance committee. It never went through. The TG, that who needs to be arrested with both hands tied behind, appointed an accounting firm whom his sister, deceased sister, and I don't know who else were directors in those, appointed them night before the conference. I rejected because the finance committee had not sat on a single day to discuss the finance of the organization, how it's supposed to be distributed. You know, in terms of the board you need to refer the proposed budget usage to the finance so that the finance go through and see if the organization is sufficient, if these matters can be prioritized. And then send a recommendation to the board. That process were never existing. So I don't know what is it that you are reporting, Director, about CIFSA 2016, because you were not there until I think it was 2019, if I'm not mistaken, 2020, when the new leadership was elected. And we forced that particular conference to happen because we were seeing the failures of the then leadership, Yaka Tony Khoroge and the Domo Namut. 24 Bosberat is a duplication, as I said. And if CIFSA, according to the minister's response, is not being dealt away with, what will this Bosberat task team do with the corrupt elements that cannot be done through CIFSA? If this particular Bosberat is the new feature, then there's no need for existence of CIFSA. Indeed, that means the minister is dictating to the industry how it wants to. The president has said, assist the industry by creating and enabling, not imposing things. And that's why the problem was for many years, that many people came and wanted to leave their own footprint by imposing things to the industry. We know the industry better. We've been in the industry for over 30-something years, 40 years. We know what this industry requires. It requires a minister who is going to support, but with full knowledge and understanding of why. This thing of bringing spinning cars and people clapping people as a sport when we have a violent country like ours, those things will never happen under our watch. Now, the looming failure, as I said, is that the members that he has listed, I can mention a number of them. Your SBC, your Tony Khoroge, they are there. These are the people who failed the process of having something that is credible to build the industry, a SASCOC of this industry. What is the minister going to do differently with the same? And I told him, if you remember last time, I said, you can't put new one into old SAC. He is doing that, constantly doing. This must be regarded as a fruitless and wasteful expenditure. And it is so sad that he's doing all these things in the watch of all these who are accounting officers. All these people who are accounting officers, who have institutional memory of what has transpired. But just to keep their jobs, they allow the minister without informing the minister correctly. That is why I want DDG for you to commit yourself to the truthfulness of the reports that you have presented. Maybe let me just pause there and say, I in advance, I reject these reports. Because, as you know, I often say, don't tell me the numbers, the statistics. Show me portfolio of COVID of evidence that says we have, for instance, we have Black Coffee now, who is an international star, who was grown through this department. Please show me that. Then I will admit that you are working. But as long as you come here and tell me statistics that you saved so much, you overachieved so much, and then on the ground we don't see. You said you fixed the pools, but I go to some communities, there's a pool that has been repaired, but there's no water inside the pool. So it can't be business as usual, Chair. Sorry to take much time, but I'm sure you understand, Chair, that I've been persistent to say I need the CIFSA. The last question that I want to ask from the department, and it's unfortunate that the current CIFSA is now reporting on things that they don't know. I was expecting them to say we can't report on behalf, because even the financials that were rejected in the conference, they couldn't get access to the bank account for the longest time, because these guys could not account. They couldn't account for anything. Now, suddenly, when we requested reports from the department, we have all the reports. We're in Mpumalanga, they couldn't report on financials. They were rejected. Even that 3-page that TG Dodom Namod was having, that 3-page that had not even an audited financials. They had no letter that covers the audit financials. Now, suddenly the department sends us the reports. Where did you get these reports from? Who audited them? Because in my knowledge, if you are dealing with an organization like CCIFSA, there must be an elective conference. There must be, not elective, an AGM. And one of the things that Tony Kgoroge and his Abal failed to do was to hold an AGM. I have Penny here, Honorable Penny, who can attest to these things. They had failed to hold a single AGM where an auditing company would then be appointed or reappointed. That is the norm. That is the culture of organizational culture. But they had never had that. So who appointed this auditors department? Can you provide us minutes of the AGMs where these financials were adopted? Because they can't be presented by 4 people or 1 person and claim that these represent the organization without those being adopted firstly by the organization and forwarded to the department. The department did not have any audit letters from auditors in Mpumalanga conference. So where did you get these letters from? And some of these auditors, they have ran away now when we want them to confirm that these letters, they have audited these financials. Well run is non-existent anymore, and I know that it was Dodo's friend who was well run. And that's the nature, the level of corruption that was there. How do you appoint your own friend who has your sister in the same company?
Honorable Kobane, will you please mute your phone?
Who has your sister in the directorship of this company? And you appoint him single-handedly without other 3 votes from other auditors. You appoint this person a night before the conference and you present as audited financials. We can't be fooled here, Chairperson. I'm sorry, I need to speak like this because I have institutional memory of this. This was one of our baby child that we had hoped it will change things for our children. We are no longer living for ourselves, but for our children. And these guys have messed up the lives of our children and their
Industries Federation of South Africa has elected renowned actor and arts activist Tony Kgoroge as its chairperson following a grueling 2-day elective conference in Bloemfontein last week. Now a newly constituted CCIFSA board will for the first time in history formally represent the interests of South African artists in various sectors. Kgoroge replaces Yvonne Chakachaka, who was appointed the interim chair. Now to tell us, to unpack the events of last week, we're joined from our Sea Point studios by the Minister of Arts and Culture, Nathi Mthethwa, and then here in Johannesburg is the new chairperson, Tony Kgoroge. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning.
Let's start with, in fact, with the Minister. Minister, you were at the elective conference in Bloemfontein and you were part of the conference. Why was it important for the department to specifically be part of this whole process?
Well, really, it was for us to open an environment for artists to take their fate in their hands. As you know, that over a period of time, we as government and other stakeholders have criticized artists and the creative industries and cultural activists, that their fragmentation, their division makes it difficult to deal with them as a sector. So the launch of CCIFSA was a step in the right direction.
All right. Tony, what does this appointment mean to you? And I've been hearing this word being thrown around. It's like a COSATU of the creative industry. Mm-hmm. Is it what this organization is about, and what does this appointment mean to you?
Well, what I'm seeing right now, it means a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah.
But mainly is to make sure that, we formalize the creative and cultural sectors and look deeply into things that are stumbling blocks towards growth in terms of policy, in terms of finance and stuff like that.
What for you were the highlights of that meeting in Bloemfontein last week?
The highlights?
Yeah.
It was very interesting and hectic as well. The highlights is that, the conference it came to a standstill for about, not standstill as such, but we could not move from certain issues for about 6 to 7 hours, which ended up in us voting around like 4 o'clock in the morning. So that was really tiring, and it was really taking strain on all of us.
All right. Minister, for you, what is your biggest wish for the creative industry? This was something that the president had asked for about a couple of years ago, that the industry be formalized. Now that it's happening, what for you are the key issues that should be addressed from here on?
Well, when the president made a call to the industry and the sector generally, was so that we see them move forward to take up opportunities in ensuring that they contribute in the regulation of the industry. They come at a very critical time in the history of the sector, when there is a review process of the white paper. And the white paper is the base policy of government, which gives direction to regulation, to the acts, to the laws of the country, and so on. So the voice of the industry would be very important. And I hope with Tony at the helm, we'll be able to see the movement from the side of the industry, precisely because it's one of the industry which is extremely exploited, without any voice thus far. With this development in our calendar, we should be on par with other industries. Obviously, there are a lot of transformation areas which need to be piloted and led by CCIFSA itself. So a lot of work lies ahead to Mr. Kgoroge and the team.
Tony, why, in your opinion, is the election of the person that leads this organization such a sensitive matter? It took hours for this industry to vote for a person. There were chaotic scenes. Why is this such a sensitive issue?
I think maybe it's coming more from the passion of the artist, who actually were sick and tired of seeing our industry falling back year after year. And everybody was trying to root for someone that they think that he is the best candidate to lead and take us out of this mess of operating in silos. So that is why then that whole passion was like that. Mm-hmm. That's why, other people were pushing the others, because they were thinking that the others will represent them better than the others.
How much of it had to do with race and who holds the industry, who has the power in the industry?
Who has the power in the industry? I think, the artists themselves have power in the industry, and we should not take that away from them. And the mandate must actually come from the artists themselves and to us as the leadership.
Minister, let's talk about the revised white paper on arts and culture and heritage. You've decided to scrap that. Why is that?
We've decided to scrap what?
The revised white paper on arts and culture and heritage.
Well, the process is open. You would recall that it started some few years ago. We believe that if we are to conclude, we must ensure that we have taken on board the views of everybody, so that nobody comes back and complain and say that their views were not taken on board as we move forward. What is important is that because of the history of the industry, because of the fact that there's been a lot of neglect in ensuring that you strengthen the regulatory framework within the industry itself, it becomes critical that we move with everybody and ensure that people make their mark in this industry, because without it, our country would continue to face serious problems of our artists dying paupers, important people who kept the fires burning in this nation. Just last week, we witnessed the passing on of one of our most outstanding artists, Sinyaga Kekana. We want, when that eventuality comes, particularly for artists, it comes and meet them prepared, or their families and so on. But even during their lifetime, they should be able to lead life, which is, equal to what they do in our society in the field of arts and culture.
All right. Tony, before we wrap up this conversation, sorry, what in your opinion needs urgent attention from here on, and how much power does this organization have?
The urgent thing that needs to be done right now is just to make sure that we organize all provinces and make sure that, the mandate is clear from provinces in all sectors coming to us. And then we'll be able to create and design programs that will attend to those kind of issues. And secondly, we have to work hard in changing policies and legislation, and make sure that our artists are protected and all those barriers to growth are removed, to make sure that the artists are actually good. Like the minister has just mentioned now, that artists are dying paupers. How then, what is that thing, what is that barrier that makes the artist to end up in that? We have to look into those things and break down all those barriers and making sure that there's progress in the creative sectors.
All right. Thank you so much, Tony Khoroge, in his capacity as the president of the, chairperson of the Creative Cultural Industries Federation of South Africa.
Is the president.
It's the president.
Thank you, darling.
That is the Minister of Arts and Culture joining us from Sea Point Studios. Minister, thank you so much for talking to us. Right, the conference happened in Bloemfontein, and is, of course, the president.
All right. So we got there in 2015. Tony Khoroge leadership was elected, right? And they had to spend, I think, 4 years, 2015 to 2019. Yeah, 4 years, I think. And remember, that conference, it has two status. It has a consultative conference and an elective conference. But the conference ended up only focusing on one, which is the elective conference. And we left the most fundamental issue of the consultative, because in consultative, we're going to talk about what kind of a structure this CCIFSA must be. But Imondo Zabantu were too much on the election, and then we ended up electing this leadership. And then Tony Khoroge, as you heard in the video, he was talking about organizing provinces and all of that. That was the biggest mistake of CCIFSA, because CCIFSA was not meant to organize provinces. CCIFSA was meant to assist in the formation of sector council. As Eugene was saying in the video, we understand that it was meant to adopt the style of SASCOC by developing sector council. So it's sad to say that ever since Tony's leadership, there was not a single sector council that was formed with their assistance. They went other way around. And then we went into another conference, the second one. You remember they're talking about, now it's about 15 million that has been spent for the CCIFSA conference and the 2 years or 3 years that Tony leadership was involved. You understand? A lot of people were having complaints because there was no meeting for the National General Council, there was no AGM and all of that. You understand? People were feeling good, hey, there's something shady. Regardless of that, the same Department of Sports, Arts and Culture assisted, you understand, in the build-up of his second CCIFSA conference. A lot of people will expect to go to no, the department will say, hey, there's a problem here, hold on. We can't go to the second conference if the first one things are not clear in the leadership. Nevertheless, let's play you a video, you understand, because I want to deal with the proof today, you understand, whereby the department was encouraging people, you understand, to form part of the district consultation, you understand, in a build-up to that Mpumalanga conference. Check this video out.
The National Department of Arts and Culture is preparing for a national elective conference of the Cultural and Creative Industries Federation of South Africa, CCIFSA. CCIFSA was formed in 2015 as a unifying body to champion the interests of the cultural and creative sector. Much has been done since that inaugural election conference in Mangaung to organize the sector. Now is the time to further strengthen this organization and the role it plays in improving the lives of artists. The department wishes to bring the following matters to the attention of artists who will be interested in participating in the processes. The national conference will be held on 28 and 29 March 2019, preceded by the District-General meetings and provincial summits, respectively. District-General meetings will be convened early March 2019, followed by provincial summits. All artists who wish to attend these important meetings are required to apply for attendance and fill in a form. Please note, applications are compulsory. The form is available on the department's website at www.dac.gov.za and libraries across the country. The closing date for application is 21 February 2019 at 1600 hours. Applications received late will not be considered, and consequently such artists will not be allowed to take part. For more information, kindly visit the department's website or alternatively contact Nontsikelelo Baqwa at 076 920 1591. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Arts and Culture.
And now we get to Mpumalanga Conference 2019. Obviously, the previous leadership needed to provide a report, you understand, and people were not happy. We understand about that report, you understand that it was it be wrong, man, it be ngavakali kahle. And nevertheless, same as what happened in the first one, the focus was more on the elective, you understand, and then the new leadership was elected, whereby Joy Mbewana became the president. And then another big flop happened. Instead, the new leadership was meant to make sure that the first CCIFSA account to all the wrongdoings, to all the accusations that were made about CCIFSA. You understand? Actually, we suppose ukuthi bayababambisa, ba make sure ukuthi basejele, babanjiwe for umoshi industry. But the same leadership did not go back into the sector council. They continue to go into the provinces. You understand? Organizing the provinces rather than the sector council. To show you a proof, Joy Mbewana from the KZN, there was a CCIFSA event that was happening. In this event, in this video that I'm going to play you, Joy unpacks, you understand what CCIFSA is supposed to do in provinces and also in district, and I'm sure a lot of even CCIFSA members in district and provinces are surprised. And I'm challenging anyone, we understand that from CCIFSA or no CCIFSA or does this thing exists to district in London, as Ujoy was saying. Nevertheless, let's play this video. And also Uluzuko Koshi is also expanding on what CCIFSA. Let's check it out.
Cela ke MEC njengoba uqhubeka uba support abantu bami uba support futhi mebeya ku-induction noma beya kule provincial strategic planning workshop ne provincial policy conference. And why I support this, it's the above, even ama district ne leadership leadership yama district, even yama local, bonke labo bantu, they need to be inducted. They need to plan and have, even sengizama uyichaza policy i-constitution yethu ithinta iziyofika emawadini njengoba uyi-leader ye-district unomsebenzi olingana ne-leader ye-province, because you need to organize ama-locals. You also need to go to have induction ama-leaders in your locals. You need to also to have a strategic planning with your locals. You also need to have a policy conference at a local level. Because as CCIFSA sine partnership ne-SALGA as well. Ngenxa ukuthi sifisa ukuthi uCIFSA mawube khona in each and every corner of the.
The mandate was very simple, was to ensure that they are working close with the department in ensuring that the processes of relief funds during the COVID-19, they participate in that process, and was to also make sure that they assist this province to lead it to a provincial conference. So run the processes of regional conferences up to a provincial conference. As national leadership, we are pleased with the fact that those comrades did what they were mandated to do. And today we are here because of their hard work. I would like all of us to give them a round of applause.
And then 29 happens. Obviously, this leadership was meant to serve from 2019 to 2024. By the time they went to Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, item yabo ibise expiration. Same thing happened. I don't remember CIFSA having an AGM. We understand over the years that they were serving. I might be wrong, but I don't remember because I'm not involved in CIFSA. Same thing happened. There was no sector council that was formed or assisted by the CIFSA to be formed. You understand? And then the GNU comes into play. The Government of National Unity. Remember, ever since in that portfolio, it has always been led by ANC ministers. You understand? Minister Nathi Mthethwa, Zizi Kodwa, we understand all of them, Paul Mashatile. And now with the GNU, here is a new minister that is coming from the PA. You understand? A totally different organization. Throughout these years, in Parliament, it was the same chairpersons of the ANC. So a lot of people feel good to be defend. We understand by the ANC. A lot of people used to complain about the colors the CIFSA. It's like a branch of ANC. And I remember when we went to a dance and theater conference in Kopanong in 2015, one of the resolutions was to challenge the colors of CIFSA to say this thing, it looks like ANC. But we went to the conference, zange kuvume uchintshwa i-colors ze-CIFSA. Hence namhlanje abantu babelieve ukuthi i-project ye-ANC. So Gayton McKenzie did not do izinto as usual. We understand that because i-CIFSA bingena iphuma kwathini. Hence ebefuna report uthi kanti kwenzekani ngal-CIFSA? What is happening with these millions? That's why recently in the funeral he was calling it a crime organization and all those things. And obviously the CIFSA leadership responded by a press statement, and also there's an audio. We are going to listen to that audio, you understand, whereby Luzuko Kotli was also unpacking. Let's hear that audio, and then after the audio, I'm going to give you my closing remarks. Let's go to the...
It's all about the money.
I'm excited to introduce our next special guest, Mr. Luzuko Kotli, the National Coordinator of Cultural and Creative Industries Federation of South Africa, which is known as CIFSA. Luzuko, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ntantla. Greetings to you and to your viewers.
Kuyintokozo ukuthi sibe kanye nawe sabe asihlale phe kodaba esilala namhlanje. We are diving into a pressing issue, the corruption allegations surrounding art institutions that receive government or municipal funding. This is a topic that doesn't just affect the art sector, but has broader implications for our society as a whole. Kakhulukazi, in this show, we've created this particular segment for the art. So to start, Luzugo, can you give us an overview of the current landscape regarding these allegations and their impact on the art community? Because Simzwilu Minister Ekuluma and even made it very clear ukuthi ukhuluma ngoSIFSA.
Thank you very much, Nkatla. You will remember that these allegations don't start now. The minister started back in August, and we have been hoping that there will be a way where he will see the need to engage with us and maybe point out whatever issues that he sees fit. But unfortunately, instead, these allegations continue. They go on and on and on, and which led us to also maybe write that statement to say there is a need to put things into perspective. Because we have not heard anything from the minister, the organization, that seemed to be a concern from our reports that we've been submitting to the department. For that matter, the minister says we have not been submitting reports. So basically, that is to respond to that. I'm not sure if you want me to go to the detail of how we feel and how this whole thing.
Maybe we should just dive into it, because I mean, there seems to be more and more allegations. I mean, a few months ago, we hosted Tizozo Zulu, who is the leader of CCIFSA, amidst allegations of gatekeeping at KZN Music House, an art center funded by KZN government. That's why today we want you to address those concerns, Gakugazi, from your side as a coordinator as well. How do you believe these issues affect the trust and morale amongst artists and the creatives in South Africa?
It's very saddening, my brother, that you wake up and you hear that an organization that you are part of has been chowing monies without reporting or accounting for it. It came as a surprise to us in the sense that you would know that as per government processes, you cannot be funded money and not report on it to get another money again. If you have not reported on government money, government would want you to bring back that money, and it will be a different process. So CCIFSA was established in 2015, and CCIFSA has been receiving funds since 2015 to 2023. And the only way for one to get the next tranche is for that person to report, and that's what we've been doing. And the CCIFSA budget has been clearly indicated what is it for. CCIFSA does not have money to run programs. CCIFSA does not have money to bury people. CCIFSA has been given money for operations. What are operations? Get an office, rent that office, get someone to work in that office, have meetings, be able to engage stakeholders, you know what operations are. And that's what the monies have been directed to, except for the policy conference that we delivered. For that matter, my brother, we did a policy conference in KZN, and the budget for that was 2.5 million. I'm just making an example. We had to get additional funding ourselves to run that, because you would know that 9 provinces going there, accommodation, number of days staying there, there is no way that you can do a policy conference with 2.5 million.
For sure.
But we managed to get more funding to do that, to make that happen. And we are not coming here to attack the minister. We've never attacked the minister. We'll never attack the minister because we understand that this battle is amongst us as creatives. Let me give you a picture. I knew about some of the things that the minister is doing a couple of months back when one of the colleagues in the industry called me and said, listen here, we are pushing the minister to investigate CCIFSA. Do you have anything that you know that you didn't do right so that we can make a plan? And I'm saying, what plan? You can't be telling me all those things. If the minister has to investigate, the organization must investigate. You can't tell me on the side that you must be on the side and this one must. It doesn't happen like that, And a week before our meeting with the portfolio committee, the recent portfolio committee that asked for CCIFSA to be investigated, the very same guy calls me and says, you are going to go to a portfolio committee. Please don't respond to things that you don't know. So we know that there are people that are pushing what is currently going on because of their own interests that we do know about. And therefore, we are not going to allow ourselves to fight with an innocent minister that has been just used to achieve certain agendas of certain individuals. So for us, is to say we've been reporting not only to the department and also to the portfolio committee, and we have been responding to whatever questions, follow-up questions. We've been complying to the portfolio committee with everything that they've been looking for. So it's a surprise to us to be told that we were not reporting at all. It's really interesting, and we are saying the minister has a direct contact with us. When he noticed anything that he feels it's a wrongdoing or it brings his concern, he would have called us. We would have listened. Maybe would have cleared whatever that is a concern, and we wouldn't be where we are now. But now he keeps on dragging our name, criminal organization, all these other things and all that. So we felt that we need to come out and also explain where we are sitting.
The minister that you're talking about, KZN, in case you're wondering, it is the new Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mr. Gayton McKenzie, who seems to be very much hands-on. And maybe, Mbewana, has he given you guys a chance or maybe an opportunity to meet, to discuss, or maybe his office, to discuss obviously these issues? I mean, we only got to hear him mentioning your organization when he was lambasting your organization on recent funerals. Doc Shebeleza, no Winnie Kumalo. Have you reached out to him maybe as you are disputing these allegations?
Let me say this, my brother. We have only met the minister in two platforms. One, he invited us in Cape Town with all organizations of the arts, and he wanted to introduce himself to the sector, and also it was a session where he was saying, I'm here to listen because I don't understand the sector, and I respect him for that. So we shared our ideas because we have no issues. The second encounter we had with the minister, it was when he organized a boss parade, wherein he was trying to structure the sector to the vision that he has. And as the organization, we have our own view on certain issues that we wish we could engage on. But the minister has not given us any platform to engage with him as an organization since he got into office. I mean, we've worked with all the ministers before, and they would organize those kind of meetings and sessions to interact. So for us, we are just surprised by it. Let me just mention one of the things that he's saying. He's saying CCIFSA is getting millions, and CCIFSA must assist artists to bury those who pass on and stuff like that. He knows very well, the minister, that you can't take a budget of government and use it anyhow. If government says this money is for operations, you can't use it otherwise, because you will have to account, and it's not even easy to deviate because government laws are very tight in terms of the PFMA on how you approach all these things. So for us, we are really looking forward to engage with the minister. And don't get me wrong, I believe that the minister has the right energy and has the right passion to take the sector forward. But it's just a matter of us engaging and finding each other and taking the sector forward,
Yes, in case you're wondering, then we are talking to Uluzugo Khohli. He is the national coordinator of CCIFSA. CCIFSA is Cultural and Creative Industries Federation of South Africa. We're looking at corruption allegations associated with these funded institutions. Art institutions that receive government imali from umasipala are often discredited due to association with corruption. And we know that this corruption is typically linked to those in management, board, or committee position with these institutions. And the objective of these institutions is to support the art sector's development and also to help them receive, funding and whatsoever. And Guzwagalile, Minister of Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, veza ukuthi kunama habits aveza ukuthi kunemali eyalapha kaCCIFSA kodwa bakwazi ukulekelela ukungcwaba uma sekufanele kufike kulezo ikhathi njengaleso. So he's here tonight to help us to understand those allegations. Now angibheke Mr. Khohli, now the collapse of these centers not only affect our artists, we know, me and you, but also affect the communities that they serve. So in your view, how can we shift the narrative and ensure that these institutions like yourselves are held accountable for maybe such actions, if there are any?
Brother, I can tell you now, the biggest challenge that the cultural and creative industries is facing is the challenge of budget. The sector is not seen as a contributor to the economy of this country, and that's where the problem is. The sector is seen as just entertaining or whatever they see it, but they don't see the fact that this sector contributes a lot to the GDP of this country. So as long as the government sees it that way, we will have a problem where people will be falsely accused. There is no organization that a federation that is run on 5 million operations. There is no such. That is not even 5 million is not even 5% of what serious organizations are getting, like your sport counterparts. It could be maybe a even their councils, the members of SASCOC, for instance, are not even getting the million, the kind of budget that the sector is getting. And people expect that budget must run programs. Between me and you, we know how operations work and all that. But all I'm saying is, if you are to have a professionally run operation in the cultural and creative industry, you would have to have enough budget so that you are able to do programs and report on those programs if you are an organization that is meant to do programs. And report those programs in due constitutional platform. For instance, CCIFSA, within these 5 years of our term, for instance, we could not have an AGM, because an AGM will you will be looking for a couple of millions to put that meeting together. So you can't have that AGM, and therefore the chances of you being able to engage the constituency and then the constituency engaging those reports are not there. Now you are depending on a report method that is between you and your funder, and which is guided by your MOA between you and the funder. And the funder is very particular to say a certain budget is for this, a certain budget is for this. And you must follow exactly that if you are to get the next funding from that particular department. And it is unfortunate that we were at the point of negotiations with the previous ministers to say, can the budget be go a little bit up so that we are able to do programs? Because when you don't have programs, artists on the ground believe that you are doing nothing, and therefore you are eating the monies because there are no programs that we are doing on the ground.
Mr. Kodwa, unfortunately, time is against us. Since this segment is dedicated to your organization and also your artist, I think we'll invite you again so that you can elaborate further. But in closing, what can you say, just in 20 seconds, to the minister, if he's listening? Maybe what can you say to him and the powers that be?
I just want to say to the minister, I hope he can look into this whole saga and reflect and realize that we are better collaborating together, we are better engaging amongst each other, and there is nothing wrong to raise issues when you have issues with someone. But I believe there are better platforms to do that. We will never attack anyone in public unless we feel that we have exhausted engagement platforms.
Luzuko Koshi, he is the National Coordinator of CCIFSA. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your insights on this vital issue.
Thank you, Dr. Have a great day.
Because Minister Gayton McKenzie has started the process of doing sector council. Sector councils now are busy with appointing or electing board council, and then in the new financial year, which is 2025, this sector council will be supported by the minister to make sure there are 16 sector that are going to happen. And it seems as if CCIFSA is not in the picture yet. In certain provinces, you still hear CCIFSA is still in existence. Does this mean it's the end of CCIFSA? Or it means CCIFSA will only exist in certain provinces? You understand? We hope in this episode we've unpacked and gave you the background on what is happening. You understand with regard to CCIFSA. In the last episode, I said if the minister is really serious, there are a lot of department people that were involved in all the CCIFSA things. You understand? Because there were senior officials of department, the management, they were involved, these ministers. So if you understand the minister wants to get them accountable, they must make sure there are a lot of officials that need to be fired in that department. You understand? Especially they were defending CCIFSA. Now they act as if they don't know. Minister Gayton McKenzie must go after them as well. Same applies with all the leaders, you understand? Who knows? Maybe there will be a campaign soon that CCIFSA pay back the money. Bazotsha abantu abayaziyo ihamba kanjani. Ngalo mazwi ndithi, share your thoughts. We understand what do you think? Do you think this is the end of this of CCIFSA, or you think CCIFSA can be fixed? Ibe right, we understand okanye mayivalwe leto wathi And yes, and Katie side, kodwa siyaqhubekeka in building the cultural and creative industry. Ngalomazwi umntana kaMbongo umbuyisa ungaleza indimo sondisa umvemnyama ozalwa ngomanzana ukhumalo omntungwa omdleke uthi makube chosi kubele.
Life of an artist, bacho xa spices, glorifying drugs as a stage fright cure. You can try this just when you're about to grab your chance of staging. Excitement, you can't think out this industry, or should I say this killer dream, cause you will swear that from the start it was designed to kill artists. Bangakulwela when days are bright, umuthembekile. As a human being on Instagram, too much pressure, unrealistic expectations. Whoever said that she's the perfect is with us, uthembekile. Singiza uthembekile. Remedies within us as ikhwemba sibhebhekile.